Hello, everybody. Welcome to the inaugural episode of PSM Exclusives. And with me for the very first episode is Filipino Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, Press One editor at large, and One News defense editor, Mr. Manuel Manny Mugato. How are you, good sir?
Hi, I'm okay, and thank you for inviting me to this podcast. It's an honor to be here with you.
No, the honor is ours. And also, you can speak in Tagalog if you want.
Oh,
We,
sige.
we are
Oh,
all
okay lang.
kababayans here, so walang
Okay.
problema. So, uh, first off, uh, how is everything regarding? And I've read your book, by the way. First of all,
Oh,
we
thank
need
you.
to
Thank
promote
you.
this because this is a really good book. And when I read it, I don't feel like I'm actually reading a book. I feel like I'm actually reliving your life because,
Oh, yeah.
in
It's
terms
all
of
about my
the
life. Yeah.
content, this is not in chronological order, by the way. I feel like, did you do this intentionally? Like sequence this based on the significance of what we are experiencing now? Because the very first chapter is really relevant to what we're experiencing regarding the politicizing of the media. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so how do you feel? Did anything change from the time that you experienced this for yourself during the martial law days and up to now, where we're having this kind of issue?
Nako, hindi. Ulit-ulit na itong issue natin eh. Itong corruption issue. Since 1946, when we became a republic, when we gained our independence, corruption na ang issue ng mga politiko hanggang ngayon. Kaya lang, the magnitude and the level, I think, has sobrang taas na, no? Dati hanggang dito lang yan eh. Ngayon, nando na, no? So, it's an old issue na recurring na I have experience, nakita ko na yan. So, hindi na ako nasa shock, no? Nasa shock lang ako dahil sa laki ng pera na umiikot. Nakita mo naman, dun sa mesa, no? Gaano karami yung
Yeah,
tambak na pera. Hindi pa ako nakakita ng ganong karaming pera na nawawala sa ating sistema.
not a lot of people will be experiencing that in their lifetime. And if we think about it, that amount of money, no one can actually spend that in their
Yeah.
lifetime. You would have to question why they even needed it, right?
Kaya nga eh, di ba? Hindi mo na mauubos yan sa lifetime mo. Pero the greed is there, no? Sobra na yung uh, ano, kaganid ng mga taong nasa
Kasakiman
likod
nila.
oh, likod ng katiwalian na yan, no? So, nakakagalit, ano? Kung titignan mo, no?
No, and in terms of like we had before, and I think I don't know when this actually started. Uh, the media being politicized. Do you feel like it's going on too much right now than before?
Well, the media is really politicized from the start, no? Kasi, uh, well, we really don't take sides, no? If, it's in the journalism principle na you have to be fair, you have to be balanced, so you don't have to take sides, no? So, but I mean that the media is not really unbiased, no? Kasi sa choice of stories lang on what you report, on what you write, you are already biased, ano? You are already taking position. And especially in this day that we have a political drama in our society,
Yeah.
it's hard not to take sides, no? But the media will always take side on the side of truth, no? Sa tama lang, no? Sa public welfare. I think that's the mission, no? Of every journalist, no? Uh, Kailangan totoo ka lang at
Yeah.
doon ka lang sa kung saan ang nakakarami ang makikinabang, no? Hindi mo pwedeng ipagbili ang prinsipyo mo.
I remember back in the 80s, like watching news panels and such, I feel like there was less advertising back then when it comes to watching the news. And right now, I feel like it's only going to be 10 minutes of news, then the rest would be advertising. Do you feel like that advertisers has a bit of a hold when it comes to how news is going to be presented to us over the course of the years?
No, actually, there is a KBP, rule for television and radio that for every 1 hour program,
Sure.
the advertisement should not take about 20%, 20 to 30%, no? However, there are some broadcast entities like GMA7 na hindi member ng KBP. So in that case, mas marami silang advertisement kesa sa
I
content
see.
ng news. Ano? So pati nga yung pag hindi na yung talaga purely advertiser, yung announcer will say a word na akala mo news pa rin pero hindi na pala, no? Kasi ang pinopromote pala niya isang product na o isang uh, tao, no? For instance, especially during election. So, as a general rule, meron talagang mix yung advertisement at yung content, no? At content. Kaya lang yung iba hindi nga member ng KBP, no? And siguro dati wala pa tinatawag na infomercial, no? Ngayon
Mm.
marami ang advertisement are infomercial. So nakatago sa information yung kanilang advertisement.
I feel like that type of regulatory board should have been mandatory. I, since we since before we had a bit more channels to actually choose from, now we have very limited ones. Like, do you think the KBP is still relevant now?
Yes, very relevant, no? Kasi you have to set rules, no? Broadcast rules that is more decent, no? And it protects the viewers, no? Especially the children. So you need KBP on policing our television and radio stations, no? Uh, yung nga lang kaya sinasabi ko, some of these television stations choose not to join KBP. And the biggest network now is GMA, has not been a member for a couple of years. Matagal na, no? Umuli sila. So talagang it's very sad, no? But we need KBP to regulate, no? To police the ranks of our broadcast networks.
Is Channel 5 a member?
Yes, KBP.
Oh,
Lahat except GMA.
I was wondering why they don't actually join and they weren't actually
It's
asked
their,
to
it's
join.
their, their choice. It's their choice because marami silang nakakuwang ad and ayaw nilang matali dun sa KBP rule.
I see. This is the first time for me to actually know this, and I feel like a lot of our viewers actually aren't aware that of this actually not being of that type of regulatory board not being applied to them, because you might notice
Yeah.
if it's going to be, and election propaganda is also part of that, right? Regulation for those
Yes.
advertising.
So it's actually profit oriented yung GMA, no, as a commercial station. So probably in terms of revenues and profit, GMA is number one now with over 1 billion gross sales. No, yun nga, they're not tied to this KBP rule.
I see. So in the US, I heard before that news broadcasts are fall under the category public service. You know, public service, I guess, falls under the no advertising rule, unlike what's happening now. Do you feel like that should be applied to news broadcasts to avoid any shareholders or any advertisers having uh, at least influence on how the news is being presented?
Actually, the media organization, no, the media companies need advertisers because that's one source of revenue for the industry. No? Without the advertisers, wala kang ma-produce na program. No? So, the only way to survive is to have advertisers, but you must limit the number of advertisements in a program so that hindi naman siya na-dominate. No? Kasi kung puro advertisement yan at wala ka ng content, siguro naman tatamarin ka na rin makinig kasi puro advertisement na narinig mo. No?
Yeah.
Pati yung sasabihin ng announcer na kunyari, si Mike Enriquez before, excuse me po, biglang pasok nila yung product, di ba? So, minsan nakakainis kasi nga, imbis na mas maraming balita kang marinig, mas marami kang nakakuwang advertisement, no? Kaya lang, it's a choice nga. Wag mong tangkilikin yung programa na yan o yung station na yan. And if they have a low viewership, no? Very low listenership, kasi the advertisers will also follow. Hindi na rin sila maglalagay ng advertisement niya kasi kukunti lang yung nakikinig. No? So that would be a punishment for these companies who really take advantage na kasi kami sikat, kami popular, so kuha ng advertisement. No? But you need them, but you have to regulate them.
I see. So going back to your career when you started, what is the major difference that you feel has happened from when you started up to now during the internet age? What do you think is the major shift you're feeling when it comes to doing your job and the executions of everything that's related to journalism now? What's the major difference that you're feeling?
Well, in journalism, the same principles we learned in school, no, are the same principles we practice today. Even before EDSA, the same principles are being practiced. Accuracy, fairness, accountability, transparency, and freedom from any bias. No, that's still the principle that we observe and we practice and we adhered to. No, simula pa noon. However, the tools for gathering news have been revolutionized, no, because of the technology, the internet, no, and the mobile phones, no. When I started in journalism in 1983, there were no cell phones, there were no computers, there was no internet. Ang meron lang typewriters, pencil and notebooks, and the tape recorders, no? Nakakatuwa ng tignan nung 1980s pagka nasa probinsya kami, yung mga reporters doon carry around a large tape recorder, yung parang
Yeah, I remember
malaki,
those things.
parang box na ano, kaya pag tinapat nila dun sa in-interview nila, halos sa maano na mabunggo na yung buong mukha dahil sa laki nung tape recorder, no? Pero ngayon, siyempre, hindi na uso yan. Cellphone na, ando na lahat, no? So, malaking pagbabago in terms of technology, no? But the same principles, no? The same principle of accurate and fairness ang sinusunod ng mga journalist, no? Of course, nung wala pang cellphone, mahirap ang communication between the reporters and their editors, no? Kasi the reporters are required to report to their offices, no? So to write the story and then i-edit yan. Pag may tanong, the editors can easily ask the reporters because nandun sila sa opisina. But now, you don't need to go back to your office, no, from the beat or from the field kasi you have the cellphone. Nung una, pwede ka magpalusot, ay, wala akong telepono, hindi mo ako matawagan. So, there's no way you can contact the reporter, no? Hindi mo may tanong. Ngayon, mas kinatulog ka, pwede kang gisingin ng editor mo kung may nangyayari o kung may tanong bigla dun sa ginawa mong istorya, no? So talagang ngayon mas mabilis na ang flow of information and flow of news na ginagather. Pero hindi ibig sabihin na nawala yung quality at nawala yung efficiency. Mas mabilis lang pero pareho-pareho pa rin yung prinsipyong sinusundan ng mga journalist.
Yeah, internet age actually sped things up when it comes to information, but there is that danger of inaccuracy, right? People receiving a bunch of news on their feed, like what we're getting with Twitter or X. Some people see that as news, and it often causes confusions. Like, what's your take on that?
Oh well, kasi nga ano no, yung internet has revolutionized information, no. Now everyone can become a citizen journalist, no. Uh, when you see an accident on a street, kukuha mo ng video o kuha mo ng picture, post mo agad, minsan nauna ka pa sa reporter. Because sa media, ang mga reporter, they follow a process. They follow a vetting procedure, no? So minsan ang processing matagal, no? Unlike yung netizen na nakita yung banggaan, kunyari, una niya, in just a minute, nasa internet na. Kasi walang betting yon. Walang kasabi na ano, ganito talaga nangyari, no? So minsan walang context, di mo alam ano yung context nung pinapanood mo, ano bang ibig sabihin yan? Baka drawing lang yan, baka gawa-gawa lang. So talagang it's very dangerous kung basta-basta ka lang maniniwala sa social media, no? Sa Facebook, sa Thread, sa Instagram, sa saan-saan pa, no? Sa YouTube. Talagang mas dangerous ngayon. Kaya kasi walang training yung karamihan ng tao sa pagkuha ng impormasyon, no? So only the journalists have the training and have the expertise in gathering information and in putting up the information in the internet, no? Kasi minsan may nakita kang nag-away na minasaksak, yun pala ang nakapatay, yun talaga ang victim kasi hindi natin alam anong talaga nangyari. Baka uh, yung isang lalaki ay binubuli at yung binubuli ay naagaw yung palaksak at nasaksak yung nambubuli. So, hindi mo alam yun, no? But only a journalist can tell you that this is the real story, no? Kasi yung netizen, kuha na ng kuha yan. Click lang ng click. So, hindi mo taga alam yung totoong nangyari, no? So, for reliable information, talagang you still need the professional media, no, to do and report on an incident or a story.
Yeah, there is more evidence of that happening in the US with their political divide right now. Now, in terms of in our country, do you think the Filipino people is equipped to actually handle the nuances of actually receiving information flooding their feeds?
Given the political divide we have now, no, in social media, mas maraming disinformation at yung tinatawag ng fake news, no, na kumakalat sa social media. And many of the Filipinos are very gullible na paniwalaan to. So, I think we are not mature enough, no, to discern ano ba yung totoo at ano yung hindi totoo. Kasi marami sa atin ang naloloko pa rin sa social media, especially uh, uh, those people who are supporters of President Duterte, no? They're easily silang nabobola, no, ng mga balita, no? Galing sa mga taga-suporta rin ng dating Pangulong Duterte o galing sa pamilya ng mga Duterte. Kasi since March, ilang beses nang nahuling nagsisinungaling si Sara Duterte at yung alang abogado na si Nicolas Kaufman, no, na hindi pala totoo yung kala sinasabi, no. Pati yung mga judges sa ICC minsan nababola nila, no. Nung sinabi nila, example, sinabi nila na meron ng tumanggap na bansa para ma-release si Pangulong Duterte, wala naman pala, no? At sila sabi ng prosecution, ng attorney ni Duterte na pumayag na ang prosecution, hindi sila nag-object na ma-release si Duterte. Mali din pala yun. Hindi naman talaga mapayag at meron pa ngang oposisyon na pinail sa temporary release. So, kung ikaw ay taga-suporta ni Pangulo Duterte, ay karamihan sa nakakalungkot kasi sa Pilipinas pananaw ng karamihan sa atin, kalipunan, no? May supporter ni Duterte, may anti-Duterte, no? May supporter ni Marcos, may anti-Marcos. No? So, talagang hindi na ata mabago ito, no? Kasi may pag-aaral yung Reuters Institute, no? For 5 years na ang Pilipinas ang may isa sa mga pinakamababang trust rating pagdating sa media, no?
Yes.
Is below the global average of 42, no? So ang lumalabas, mas nabubudol ang mga Pilipino, madaling niniwala kaysa sa totoong impormasyon na galing sa mga reliable na legacy media like dyaryo, TV at radyo, no? Mas naniniwala ang mga Pilipino sa vlogger. Kaya yun ang problema natin.
I see. Now, over the years, there has been a decline in print media, right? Do you think that actually hurt us more? That is actually it's something missing in our lives now.
Yes, kasi ang problema is the Filipinos are not a reading public, no? Hindi tayo mahilig magbasa ng dyaryo. Even nung popular pa ang dyaryo, hindi naman ganun karaming na-imprenta, no? So, mas gusto ng Pilipino manood ng video, no? So ngayon, ang percentage ng mga Pilipinong siguro nagbabasa ng dyaryo ay less than 20%, no? Compared to the people who watch television na more than 60 to 70%, no? So talagang lalo na ating mga millennials at Gen Z na puro visual, no?
Yeah.
Hindi na sila nagbabasa. Kaya susceptible yung mga Pilipino sa false information at sa kung ano nung chismis na pinepedel ng mga vloggers kasi ang comprehension at ang reading behavior nating mga Pilipino ay mas mababa compared sa ibang bansa sa paligid natin, no?
Mm.
Uh, Yun ang malaking problema na kinakaharap ng media ngayon. Yung lost of trust, no, ng mga tao kasi mas naniniwala ang mga tao sa kung ano mang sinasabi ng mga vlogger sa social media. So,
Mm.
ganyan, hina yung sales ng mga dyaryo at pati yung audience ng television at radio ay bumababa din kasi mas gusto ng tao entertainment at pag entertainment yung fake news it's a form of entertainment na rin, no? Sa
Yeah.
na kailangan mo ng suporta ng bawat tao para ito ay manatili. Kasi importante sa isang demokrasya ang tinatawag nating free press. Kung wala ng free press, ay wala ng demokrasya.
Do you feel like over the years, newscasters have risen to celebrity status? At least for your observation here in the Philippines.
Oo naman, kasi karamihan nung reporters at news readers natin nagiging celebrity, no? Uh, Mas sikat pa yung mga taga television news readers, no, kaysa sa mga journalist talaga kasi nga merong mentality na celebrity ako di ba? Yun.
Yeah. Do you feel like sometimes that hurts them a bit when it comes to how they actually handle the news?
Hindi kasi separate talaga yung news sa celebrity. Siguro yung celebrity nagbabasa lang ng news. Pero they are not the ones gathering the news, no? So, ang mga Pilipino, I think cannot separate the celebrity from the news they actually read, no? Akala nila yung celebrity, yung nakakaalam na lahat-lahat kung paano nangyari, no? Of course not, kasi sila, ang trabaho nila, magbasa lang ng balita. Ang balita gumagawa, yun ang nakakaintindi at nakakapag-usap sa mga people on the ground. Kaya
Yeah.
mas magaling yung mga journalist kaysa sa celebrity. Kaya lang, siyempre, mas sikat yung celebrity.
Yeah, you mentioned Duterte a while back, and I would be remiss not to talk about your Pulitzer Prize winning piece. How did you come about that work? Was that assigned to you, or who
Yes,
actually
kasi
came up with the idea of the beat?
remember before Duterte became president, he was already talking about uh, ending the drug problem in the Philippines, no? So naging centerpiece program niya yung drug eradication.
This was
But
back
when
when you were in Reuters, right?
yeah,
This was
yes.
the Reuters
So
piece.
hindi pa siya presidente, puro I hate drugs na, no? And when he became president, he started a campaign against drugs, no? So anong nangyari, ang campaign niya is very bloody and siguro very brutal, ano? Yung nangyaring programa ni Pangulong Duterte against drug kasi pinapatay na yung mga suspects, no? And that policy ni Duterte, especially the killings, have caught the attention not only of the media in the Philippines but also the international media. No? So, padala rito yung Reuters ng special team to write about the Duterte's drug war. So, sino yung biktima, sino yung suspects, at bakit nila ginagawa ito. So, when this was done in 17 months, 17 months nag-imbestiga yung Reuters, they did a lot of special reports on the drug war. Iyan ang sinubmit sa Columbia University sa Pulitzer Awards to consider. But ang Reuters ay hindi nag-iisa. Lahat ng publication sa Pilipinas, even television, even sa Amerika, like New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times, lahat yan nagkaroon ng mga special reports. They covered the drug war. However, ang Reuters lang ang natira. Kasi yung ibang reporter ng ibang bansa pinadala sa Pilipinas para gumawa ng investigative stories, kasama yung team ng nasa Manila, so that means ako yun, tsaka yung mga kasama ko, so this is a team effort ang nangyari, and then tinignan siguro ng Pulitzer yung body of work na ginawa namin kasi it started in April 2016 hanggang December 2017 yung investigasyon namin, and we produced actually 10 special reports based on those news stories, based on those coverage na ginawa namin. And alam mo, honestly, hindi lang naman Reuters sa gumagawa niyan pati New York Times, pati AP, gumagawa din sila ng ganitong stories of Duterte's drug war. However, mas comprehensive yung nagawa ng Reuters. So, yun ang sinubmit sa Pulitzer Awards. We are not expecting that story to win kasi ang Pulitzer is more American-centric. So, usually, ang American issues is more important than the outside world. Kasi karamihan ng Pulitzer Prize winner ay galing sa Washington Post, New York Times, AP. So American American focused yung mga stories, yung award. So nagulat kami ng Pulitzer Prize chose yung Duterte's drug war, which is very local sa atin. So I think we're just lucky.
Were there other Filipino reporters working the same beat as you guys on other publications?
Oh yes, lahat naman ng mga Pilipino in the Associated Press, in the Agence France Press, even in New York Times, may mga Pilipino dyan. Yun nga lang, talagang hindi sila sinuwerte. Yung Reuters ang pinalad na manalo ng Pulitzer on that category.
Yeah, what were the challenges you've encountered while doing your investigations here? Because I figured there would be some.
Mahirap kasi ayaw magsalita. Ayaw magsalita ng mga tao, nakatakot. But may mga kaibigan ako na pulis, mga sundalo, na matagal ko nang kakilala. I think some of them were young lieutenants, back in the 80s, back in the early 90s. So, noong 2016, they were already in a position as generals or as senior commanders ng Army o ng Philippine National Police, and they can truly say a lot about what's happening kasi kilala ko, so they trusted me. So yung hindi mo makuha sa mga spokesman ng police, din natakot silang sabihin totoo, nakukuha ko sa mga senior officers nila na who's willing to talk on condition that they will not be identified kasi importante rin din naman yung kanilang security at yung kanilang career, no, as police or soldiers na they don't want Duterte to suspect them and remove them from their position, no. So very handy yung pagkaibigan ko sa mga pulis at sundalo na na-promote na, naging general na. Sila yung source talaga namin na nagbigay ng malitalye, no, sa nangyayaring drug war. Na ang sabi nila, hindi yan totoong drug war kasi ang totoo dyan, naging gera yan against mga karibal nung sindikato na sinusuportahan ni President Duterte. At gusto nila sila maghari sa pagbebenta ng droga dito sa Pilipinas. Kaya yan po ang kwento ng aming mga sources, no, sa police.
So the military and the police are not in agreement with what's happening, but they're just actually in fear of who's actually sitting in positions. Is that correct?
Yes. Kaya maraming akong kilalang police na nagpapare-assign, no, sa ibang posisyon. Huwag lang sumama dyan sa drug war, sa patayan, sa drug war. So, karamihan sa kanila ay nag-testify na dito sa nangyayaring drug war killings, no, panahon ni Duterte. So, mas gusto nilang ma-assign sa ibang posisyon na hindi involved sa pagpatay kaysa drug war.
You see, now that the Duterte legacy is, or Duterte presidency is behind us, he's actually at The Hague right now. I actually had this epiphany, like during the time he was still the president, we don't actually hear that much backlash regarding what he's doing. But right now, all of a sudden, we have people coming out in the streets for flood control scams. But I feel like he's done a lot more. And I feel like the Filipino people back then was a bit more lenient of him. Why do you think that is so? Because I feel like what he's done could have resulted in another EDSA.
Ano,
should have resulted in another EDSA.
Kasi, different situation, different incidents, no, different outcome, no. During Duterte's time, he used fear, no. He instilled fear sa population, no, by killing thousands, no. So ang nangyari, ang mga tao ay natakot kay Duterte, no. They don't want to speak out. So lahat sila umayon na lang, no. So hindi mo ba nakita yung disconnect? In many surveys during Duterte's time, almost 90%, no, approved sa ginagawa niyang drug war, no, sa war on drugs, no.
That's high. You think about it, 90% of the country approves
90%
crimes which is something that's categorized as crimes against humanity now. 90% of the country is okay with.
Well, when you say I am against drugs, no, 90% of the people agree with him, no. When he said that I will eradicate drugs, 90% of the people agree with him. But when he started killing, the people did not like what he is doing. So, mababa naman yung support dun sa killings, no? 90% does not agree on the killing. So, may disconnect di ba? Gusto mo ng drugs, pero ayaw mo ng killing. Pero maraming pinapatay si Duterte. So how would you reconcile that, no? Isa pang issue. Uh, the Filipinos are generally anti-China and pro-US. Si Duterte is pro-China. Bakit gustong-gusto ng mga Pilipino si Duterte? Ang approval rating niya is almost 90%. Bakit siya gusto? Pero ang policy niya, pro-China. Ayaw naman ng Pilipino pro-China. So there are many disconnect, na nangyayari during that time. Bakit? Because of fear. Nakatakot kasi ang tao na salungatin si Duterte because they might be killed. So yun ang explanation na bakit mataas ang rating niya pero ayaw sa mga ginagawa niya.
Yeah, Duterte back in the day has been likened to Trump because they had parallel presidencies, right? But I feel like that's a bad comparison. I feel like we've already had a president before, and he's actually familiar with you. That's more like Trump, and that is President Joseph Ejercito Estrada. And I think you would notice the most because you worked for the Manila Times back then.
Mm.
So
Well, the difference.
mind if you refresh us a bit on what happened with that article?
Well, the difference between Duterte and Estrada, Duterte did not kill thousands. Sorry, Estrada did not kill thousands, but Duterte had murdered, tens of thousands. So that's the main difference. But on the corruption level, probably both are the administrations are corruption ridden, no?
Yeah, and
You
people
recall during
who tried to control the media back then. I feel like Arab had more of a hand in it.
yes, uh, although they wanted to muscle the press, both of them, no, but Duterte is worse, no, because he shut down ABS-CBN during a period that there is a pandemic and throwing thousands of people on the streets, no, walang trabaho yung mga taga ABS-CBN. He tried to muscle the Rappler, no, as well as the Inquirer, no. So actually pareho lang sila ni Joseph Estrada who tried to control the press, no. Yun nga lang different scenarios, no, kasi si Estrada was being accused of corruption, taking kickbacks from the tobacco tax and in illegal gambling game, no. Si Duterte was accused of getting rich dun sa pandemic by imposing yung face shields, the face mask, and buying overpriced vaccines, no. So parehong may corruption, parehong may intention to silence the media. Ang main difference is that wala namang namamatay sa panahon ni Estrada compared to sa panahon ni Duterte. And the magnitude of media repression was higher than in Duterte's time compared to Arab's period, no? Which is actually short-lived from 1998 to 2001. Wala pang 3 years.
Yeah. During your stint at the Manila Times when that order for closure happened, can you actually talk about it? Is there an NDA regarding it or no? Because I don't think the audience is actually aware that the Manila Times, a newspaper back then, a bulletin, a well-known one, was actually forced to close by President Arab.
Yes, because the Manila Times reported during that time a corruption issue involving Estrada and a dam project in the Cordilleras, no? So merong illegal activity in the bidding, in the ganun din, no? What's happening now?
Yeah.
Narinig yung bidding And this project went to a friend of Joseph Estrada, the president. So when the Manila Times reported that ERAP acted as a ninong, no, as a godfather to this sweetheart deal, nagalit si ERAP, so dinimanda niya yung Manila Times uh, ng libel, no? And yung owners ng Manila Times are businessmen, no? The
Go
Gokong
Wei.
Ways. Oh, they have a lot of business interest in airline, in energy, in banking, in almost everything. Meron silang business interest. So they feared that Estrada will make their lives miserable by turning the screws on these regulated industries like airline, power, uh, banking. Lahat yan, depended on the government regulations. So, pwede silang pahirapan, no? Pwedeng
See?
pahirapan yung kanilang businesses because the Manila Times is reporting negatively on Estrada. And in the 10 years that the Gokong Ways were the owners of Manila Times, they did not interfere with the editorial policies of the newspaper. So I was the assistant news editor at that time, and we were given a pre-hand on what to report.
Yeah.
Minsan nga, binabanata na yung Gokongwei companies, okay lang sa kanila. As long as you get their side, no? To be fair. Which is actually the right thing to do, no? Pero when it comes to politics, bahala kami kung sino gusto naming i-criticize. But it so happen na si ERAP yung criticize namin during that time. So natakot yung Gokongways na baka balikan sila ni ERAP at pahirapan yung mga negosyo nila. So they decided to sell the newspaper.
But
So
did the
when
Manila
selling the
Times have
newspaper,
yeah, but did the Manila Times have substantial evidence to back the report back then on Arab?
yes, there was. But natakot nga yung owners na baka humantong sa malaking away between the newspaper and ERAP na sila yung balikan yung mga negosyo nila, no? So they decided to sell the newspaper para wala na sakit
Yeah.
ng ulo.
Because I find it kind of weird that it's a libel case with substantiated evidence. Like that should have been a win for the newspaper. And if you think about it in hindsight, Arab was ousted from office if you just waited a couple more months.
Well, we didn't know that.
Yeah, in
Na,
hindsight, if you think about it now.
yeah. Kasi we were shut down in 1999 and he was removed in 2001.
Was the
So
shutdown because of the payout, or was it just a mutual decision that hey, we don't want any more
it's a decision
trouble
by
with
the owners na they don't want any more political problems.
I see.
So they decided to sell it to ERAP's crony.
And
so the paper was sold. And when it was sold, siyempre, we were out. No? We were out.
yeah,
Kasi siyempre, kung sino yung owners, he has the choice kung sino gusto niyang editors.
yeah, they
So,
call that what corporate consolidation, right? When you acquire one
yes.
company and tear apart piece by piece.
Yeah, so ganun nangyari. So it was not shut down, but it was sold. No? Unlike ABS-CBN, that was really shut down. Kasi wala nang franchise and wala nang frequency yung kanilang TV at radio. So talagang total shutdown. Ang Manila Times was only sold. Yun ang nangyari. So that's the difference. So until now, there's Manila Times. Diba?
Yeah, because in hindsight, you think about it, he only waited a couple more months.
Correct. Kaya
But
lang ano who has the crystal ball to predict that
these are
era will be out
businessmen,
of
right? They should have balls to actually handle these things. Like our president has only one term, unlike the US,
yes.
they have a possible two terms. Like you can just probably ride up the storm. You have a couple more businesses that could actually hold off for a bit. And if you're going to be going on a newspaper or a media business and you have other business, you would probably think that media company would have an effect on your other businesses, especially if you give them carte blanche to actually report.
Talagang ano talagang yung media in the Philippines is under the mercy of the powers, no? And under the mercy of the owners. So if the owners don't want any problems with the political leaders, they will koto, no? Like what's happening now. So the media owners are the one actually censoring, no, news reports by their media offices, no. Kasi ayaw nila ng problema, ayaw nila ng away, no. Kasi once the politicians file a complaint against you, that that will start yung mahabang problema, no. Of course, you don't want your other businesses to be affected, no? So it's better to benta mo na lang yung media mo kaysa karoon ka ng problema, di ba?
Yeah. Now, just to get on something current right now, the current flood control project scandal that we're actually encountering. Now, looking through all of the hearings, you might notice we have a lot of departments that handle this. We have a lot of regulations. What? How does this thing actually still get through? Why do we still experience this with all of that safeguards?
Actually, yung nangyari, no? Naging sindikato yung lawmakers, yung DPWH engineers, no? At yung mga contractors. Isang sindikato na they control how to make money, no, out of ghost projects, no, and meron silang template, no. It will not happen if there is no cooperation among the three, no. So talagang malala na to, no. In the past kasi medyo decent pa yung mga government officials mo na ang kickback, no, is only up to 10%, no.
Yeah.
I mean, if the project cost is 100 million, yung 10 million yan binabawas na agad sa kontrata, no, kasi yan pamimigay na yan sa mga politiko at sa mga corrupt officials, no. At I think hindi lang yan sa DPWH. Kasama dyan yung DBM, kasama dyan yung COA, kasama dyan yung other agencies, no. So hanggang 10% lang. Pero ngayon sumobra na laki. 25 to 30% doon pa lang sa politiko. So
Yeah.
talagang mga pilitan kang magkaroon ng ghost project kasi wala nang maiiwan doon para sa proyekto, no? Napunta na lahat sa bulsa ng politiko, ng opisyal at ng mga agencies na nangihingi ng kanilang share, no? So, ang sabi nga, if 25 to 30% goes to lawmakers, yung 8.5% goes to DPWH, no? And then 5% to the other losing contractors, no? And then may share pa dyan yung DBM, may share pa dyan yung COA. Even yung mga ordinary mayors, no, minsan may share pa.
Yeah.
And then other officials, no. So talagang naiiwan uh, for the project based on the testimonies the Blue Ribbon Committee is only about 30%, no? So kung 100 million yung project, 30 million na lang yung pwede mong igastos sa proyekto. So paano mo gagawin ng maayos kung 30 million na lang? Pero ang design at ang plano ay for 100 million. So mangyayari substandard pagka
Yeah.
tinapos nila yung project. O buti pa, wag mo nang gawin. Kaya nagiging ghost project. So that's the problem now. Lumala lang yan nung panahon ni uh, Pangulong Marcos, no? But it all started sa panahon ni Duterte. Kasi si Duterte, ang kanyang program is build, build, build. Kaya
Yeah.
ang
Infrastructure.
nangyari, nag-build, build, build. At maraming nanghingi, naging ghost, ghost, ghost. Di ba?
Yeah, there is a saying when it comes to politics, though, and the only way government can actually transfer funds is through a leaky bucket, right? In terms of what's happening right now, after we found out that only 30% of what was of the budget that's already been bidded goes to the project, but the rest actually goes to the proponents and after tax. That's a
Mm.
bit too much. It feels like the bucket no longer has any bottom. Like, have we gotten used to government actually transferring our funding through leaky buckets that we no longer notice it? That's why this actually happened.
Alam mo, kasalanan din ng Pilipino because they tolerated it. No?
Yeah.
In other countries, once corruption issue arises, they protest. No, look what happened in Indonesia and in Nepal or in
Yeah.
France. No, ang mga tao ay nagreklamo agad because of this. But in the Philippines, ano bang sabi natin? No, sa pag-eleksyon, bakit mo boto yung corrupt na yan? Eh, ang sinasabi ng kadalasang Pilipino, pare-pareho lang yan yung mga politiko. So, ang nangyayari is that we are tolerating itong practices ng politician na ang nangyari because they know that they can get away with it, uh, mas lumalaki yung kanilang kinukuha, ang kanilang kinukupit, no? At nagiging garapala na, no? Harapan ka ng ninakawan, okay lang sa'yo kasi may ayuda eh. Di ba?
Mm.
May ayuda naman binibigay. Di ba? Dapat ialisin na natin yung mentalidad na yan ng ayuda at we demand good governance from our leaders, from our politician. No? Uh, Yun ang problema eh, you know, yung pagiging tolerance ng mga Pilipino. No? I think there are some uh, business analyst, no, na sinasabi na the biggest problem ng Pilipino is that they tolerated these practices.
Is that because the Filipinos have the ability to survive even through hardships that we see things like these, like losing taxes as something that's normal in our lives?
Oo, parang naging normal na eh. Kasi nga, ang sinasabi natin, pare-pareho namang corrupt yung ano eh, yung mga politician. So, binoboto natin yung corrupt. No? But if we do not vote for corrupt, siguro ititigil yung corruption. No? I think it's also on our leaders. No? Kasi when Duterte came in, he was a corrupt leader. So, pinabayaan lang niya na mag-corrupt din yung mga tao niya sa baba. So, remember, during President Aquino's time, bumaba ang level ng corruption. No? Hindi ganun kakorap. Pero nung dumating si Duterte, tumaas ang corruption. At naging worse pa nung panahon ni Marcos kasi he also tolerated that. Because why? He won in the 2022 election on the strength of the Dutertes. No? So in a way, he tolerated what the Dutertes are doing. So ngayon lang siguro na away-away na sila, and when he decided to put to a stop itong corrupt practices at the expense of his own administration, even risking his own political capital, di ba?
Mm.
Yeah, we still don't know what will happen next. Kasi the corruption level, the corruption issue uh, will eventually uh, go to his doorstep. Kasi nga, pinsan niya si Speaker Romualdez. And
Mm.
most of the people involved in the corruption belong to his alliance, no? Yung kanyang mga partido. So, kaibigan, no? So, talagang hindi maiwasan siguro na dumating sa kanyang pintuan itong corruption accusation, no?
Yep.
Sa darating na mga araw. So, hindi natin alam what will happen next. Pero hindi naman free yung oposisyon, no? Yung si Sara Duterte o yung mga Dutertes kasi they have their own corruption issues. So, nakakatakot yung magiging outcome itong investigation dahil kung gusto mo linisin lahat yan, you have to start from scratch, no? Dapat walang maiwan dyan sa ating gobyerno.
Do you feel like the hearings would actually still persist up to 2026 and even past that? And do you feel like public opinion will be shaping what's going to be the result of these hearings? Like for a few hearings ago, we've actually heard Senator Erwin Tulfo state that sometimes you have to bend the law. Some people might agree, some people might argue, but in his statement, he did mention that's what the people want.
Tama yun kasi pero I don't think these investigations will continue until next year, no? Because the people are demanding uh, immediate results, no? They want to see people in handcuffs and people behind bars. However, the due process and the investigation are slowing it down, no? Ang tanong ko lang, why is the ombudsman not investigating motu proprio the corruption charges? What are still what are they waiting for? No, Vince Dison is actually fast. No, he dismissed officials. He asked the AMLAC to freeze the assets of the people, and he filed charges. And NBI has already recommended charges to at least 21 people involved in these irregularities. But there is still no cases. No? So people are impatient. People are demanding. Wag sanang umabot to a level that people will be taking to the streets and demanding immediate action, no, from the
They've
government.
already done it, right? Like last week.
Yes, but it's not enough. Maybe there will be more protest in the coming days, the coming weeks. Kasi nga, parang walang nangyayari. No? It's not moving fast, the investigation. So they might demand for quicker resolution of this investigation. So Marcos has to act fast, no? Kasi yung kanyang presidency is also at stake here. Pagka maraming na-impatient, maraming nagalit, we don't know what will happen next.
Yeah, we don't want another Indonesia, right?
Yes.
It's become a trend right now to actually burn stuff. So we wouldn't want that for our country. We've been known to be the peaceful protesters. But
Yes, that's right. You're
judging from
right.
what happened over the past,
Yeah.
the last one, I feel like we're going in that direction, and it is kind of scary that just because of a flood control project, we're gonna be reaching Indonesia levels of uh anarchy, so to speak.
Yes. What
Yeah,
we don't want that to happen, but if Marcos is slow in acting, uh, we could face such situation.
do you feel like he has a lukewarm presidency right now, and compared to other ones?
Well, he has all the powers as president. What he needs to do is to implement it, to take action. Of course, he cannot force the courts to act faster, but he can do things to please the people asking for blood. No,
Do you
there
think
are many.
he's been impartial up to now when it comes to his presidency?
Well, it's the people is not seeing that way because parang walang ginagawa nga eh. Well, he created an ICI,
Yeah.
but he did not clothe them with enough powers uh, to punish the corrupt officials. No, it's only a fact-finding body with no prosecutional prosecution powers. So how can that uh, hold accountable the corrupt officials and lawmakers? So talagang mahirap din on his part if, because he has to abide by the laws no of our land.
Yeah.
And as a democracy, there are processes that really slow down this accountability issues. No, you know, in China or in Vietnam, because they are communist countries, the president can order a firing squad right there and then, so you
Mm.
get instant justice. But because we are a democracy, you have to observe the law and follow due process na ang tagal. Kaya minsan that is the problem in our uh, uh, form of government.
Yeah, in terms of the law, and I don't know, I've seen this question asked a couple of times online. Like those that's been accused or those that have been named uh by Bryce Hernandez. Do you feel like it's right for them to actually be present at the Senate doing the questioning?
Well, they're doing that to defend themselves, no. It is their right, but I think it is not proper for them to be in the same hearing. No, they could have inhibited themselves, but uh, their motive is to defend themselves. No, so that's why they were there. Uh, but if you look at how the public look at the situation, it only make them more guilty than uh, avoiding, no, or
Yeah.
defending themselves. Kasi it doesn't look good when you confront the accusers in a Senate hearing, which is in your own backyard, no? Siguro
It,
there should be a proper forum for that, no? The proper place is in the courts, no? When they should defend themselves, no? And confront their accusers, but not in a Senate hearing where they are part of the Senate.
and also part of the investigation, right? They
Yeah.
are privy. They have access to information, also regarding them,
Yes.
and information regarding them. Like to me, that seems weird. What's even more weird for me is actually the outflowing of sympathy for Bryce Hernandez. who in actuality actually stole from the Filipino people. So, do you have any
Yeah,
opinions regarding why that is happening?
yeah, because he's the most guilty because he rigged the bidding, and he did all the paperwork to make it appear that the project was completed when there was none. So the contractors could not have collected payments
Yeah.
without him
Yeah,
doing the
but
paperwork.
I've been reading online people that's been cheering him on, like, go, Mr. Bryce Hernandez. We support you. The Filipino people love you, so to speak.
I
that's
think,
that's that's a weird thing for me because the dude actually stole from the country. And things wouldn't
yeah,
have gone this way had he not done it or had
yes,
been not complicit. So why are we cheering him on? That's the one thing. I feel like it happened during the time when targets were on the back of the senators and the congressmen that he named. He suddenly became a hero to some.
yeah, because I think the people are actually targeting the politicians because for me, uh, the most guilty in this kind of operations, are the politicians because they funded the program. They know that the funds will go to them, and they also chose the contractors that who will benefit from these projects. And of course, they needed the cooperation of the DPWH to get their money. No, so for for me, the two most guilty are the engineers and the lawmakers. No, sila yung talagang may kasalanan dito. Eh. But the biggest uh, may kasalanan is yung mga lawmakers because uh, they have this intention to steal money, and they did it through funding the budget because they know that's the only way they can get their money. No, if they put funds and then ask the DPWH to uh, do some scheme where they can get their money at 20 to 25 to 30%. No, so the engineers were forced to uh, overprice projects and to uh, cut corners in some of the projects just to give money to these lawmakers who are demanding it outright.
Hmm. Now we're moving to the tail end of the interview now. Let's say we get through all of these, all the hearings, flood control stuff. What do you feel is the silver lining after all of what's happened and what we've discovered?
It's so sickening, the details of the corruption that are happening uh, in this DPWH projects. No, but in the end, I think the corruption has to stop, and maybe this investigation will help mitigate whatever corrupt practices that are happening. Uh, it it might be minimized,
Yeah.
but I'm sure it will not completely stop 100%. No, baka kumonti lang at mag-slow down in the next few years because of what had happened. No, so I'm sure that there's something good that will come out from this investigation. People, some people will get jailed, no? Although the powerful might escape. I don't know how, but like what happened to Jinggoy and Bong Revilla, after they were jailed for some years, they were
Yeah, here we go
able to
again.
get an acquittal, no? They were able to get an acquittal. And ang hindi ko maintindihan yung decision kay Bong Revilla, no?
Was
He
it,
was
what
acquitted, but
is this with people actually doing the movie Panday that they're actually prone to corruption?
kaya nga hindi ko alam eh. Yung kay Bong Revilla is puzzling, ano? Kasi
Yeah.
he was he was acquitted, but the court asked him to return the money.
Yeah.
So if
How
the
did that
court
even?
if the court asks you to return the money, then there must be something wrong,
Yeah,
di
how is
ba?
that possible? Like, we
But he
know you
was
didn't
acquitted.
rob the bank, but can you please return the money from the bank?
Kaya nga eh. So I think that's still a big question why he was acquitted. Was it political accommodation?
Hmm.
So I really don't know. I think the court has to answer that.
Yeah. Like,
Now, ang gulo ng sitwasyon. And he has not returned the money.
he still hasn't. Yeah, the first question I think I posed to you, I don't know which part of the interview was it that where I actually uh asked why we have all these departments and this thing still actually got through. Like, I just had this realization. This was actually a question asked to me by a friend, and I just realized we are, after all of the loopholes that has been exposed because of these hearings, all of the oversights amid all of the regulatory boards that we have, all the departments overseeing it. It feels like we are still a young country that we missed all of these things.
Of course, because the Philippines got its independence in 1946. No?
Right.
So we're still a very young country. No,
So what we're
less
experiencing now
than
is just
100 years.
this is
Yeah,
just
less than.
growing pains, right?
No? The Americans have built a nation for over 200 years. No, and they went through a civil war.
And
No,
200
and
years still
uh,
fairly young for a
yes,
civilization to
so
exist, right?
we didn't have a bloody civil war. So we didn't experience that kind of what the Americans had experienced in the 1860s. No, so I do not want to say that we need a revolution or we need a civil war. No,
Maybe reform
uh,
would be a good term.
yeah, but we had all this reform on paper
Yeah.
uh, since 1986, but we have not learned. We have not learned. We always backslide. No, I don't know why that there is a vicious cycle of uh, corruption in the country. No,
Yeah.
sabi ko nga kanina, since the time we were born in 1946, corruption has been an issue in government.
Mm. And a final question to end this podcast in terms of the new generation that is coming up with their exposure uh, to the news that they've been receiving, with the internet actually helping out the dissemination of information. Do you feel like education regarding uh politics should be something placed in the curriculum of much younger years, like early high school?
I think the one of the solution to this problem, no, in terms of the gullibility of the Filipinos, no, in terms of Filipinos falling on misinformation and disinformation that is going on in the social media is education, no. But over the years, the quality of the education in the Philippines is declining, no. We used
Yes.
to pride ourselves as one of the best English speakers in Asia. We're only the biggest English speaking people in Asia, but not now, no, because China has a big population, and the number of people who speaks good English is higher than Filipinos, no, and our education has really deteriorated. If you only look at the rankings of the countries with in the quality of education, we are ranked low. I think almost 90 out of 100 countries, with one as the highest. No, so why did we uh, reach to that point? I think it's because of our leaders. No,
Mm.
uh, the leaders are corrupt, and they don't put too much attention to our education, because in education, no, uh, some of the schools, some of the teachers. I mean, the ghost projects in the public works, no, are not only in flood control projects, but also in schools.
Yes.
Imagine
We
I
just
covered
found that out.
I covered the Muslim Mindanao area, no,
Mm.
and there are ghost schools, ghost teachers, ghost students. On paper, there is a public elementary and public high school existing in an area, no, that is being funded every year by millions for their teachers, students, and for the buildings maintenance. However, when you go to that place, it does not exist. So where did the money go? So it goes to the pockets of the politicians. So even in our education during the time of Sara Duterte, she was she has to build 1,000 school buildings, no, to accommodate more students, no, in the public schools. But how many did she build? Less than 5,000, no. And then she was supposed to deliver computers, no, during Duterte. But what were the computers delivered? What kind of computers? These are the old systems that are no longer being used, no? And they are overpriced. So talagang sobra-sobra ang pagwawalang ya sa ating educational system. There are no textbooks, and the teachers are being selected based on political appointments or political favoritism. No, if you don't know any politician, even if you're a good teacher, if you're graduated and top the teacher licensure exam, you don't get the job.
Yeah. That
Those
thing
who,
actually leads to indoctrination, right?
yeah, so talagang the education system must be overhauled. That needs to be uh, changed, no? And yung reform talagang dapat dyan sa education system. Kasi, and then the students are not taught critical thinking, no?
Mm.
Yan ang isa sa mga curriculum na dapat baguhin, no? Because if you only teach the children, our children, the basic literacy functions like reading, writing, and counting, but you
Yes.
are not teaching them how to think,
Common
uh,
sense is not that
common
common.
sense, how to rationalize, no? Wala. will be left behind. No? We are already being left behind by other countries. No, uh, there are poor countries before that doesn't speak English, doesn't understand English. But now, where are we? No, the comprehension level ng mga Pilipinos are also very low compared to Singapore. No, compared to Japan. No, which are not Japan, which is not actually an English-speaking country, no, but their understanding is much higher than the Filipinos.
Yeah, their interest in actually the English language is actually impressive, even if it's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that question, do you have any message or advice to aspiring journalists? And in addition to those that are Twitter journalists or social media journalists that are active at the moment? Because we've
Well,
seen a lot of them over the years.
my only advice for aspiring journalists and the young journalists, especially those on social media, is to read, 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 and read some more, because you will find knowledge, no, by reading, no, and researching more on the topics that you wanted to write, no. Do not rely on social media for information, no. Go to the primary sources, no. Go to the books, reliable uh, materials, no, reading materials to get your information. So my advice is for them to read, because by reading will get more knowledge, and you will be more equipped, no, to fight disinformation, no. The problem is wala na nagbabasa sa mga Pilipino. Even some of the journalists do not read, no. So scanning the news pages that I see every day, I find the quality of journalism also deteriorating, no. Imagine there were news reports yesterday saying that the National Bureau of Investigation has recommended 21 people to be charged criminally for their role in the ghost projects. But nothing in the story tells you what kind of charges will be filed.
Yeah. That's kind of empty.
So I was looking for that. They said to be charged criminally, 21 people. Oh, what are the charges? No one asked. No, but actually there already I saw some information that they will be charged with indirect bribery
You feel like
and
that's another
malversation.
problem? You feel like that's another problem? Everybody wants to be first, not accurate.
That's why that's the problem, because of social media and the internet. Everyone is trying to break news. There are no contexts, there are no background, there are no details. Kulang yung news reports ngayon. And that is being teach, no? That's being taught in our schools, journalism schools, na maging complete yung storya. But because of social media, na gusto mo mauna, salpak na ng salpak maski incomplete. No? That's one problem. So yeah. I'm very sad because this is happening in the profession, no? Hindi na masinop, hindi na talagang mabusisi, no? Ang mga reporter ngayon compared to before. Even if you look at the questioning in the Senate investigation, kulang-kulang, butas-butas yung tanong nila. Kasi kung magaling ka magtanong, huli mo agad kung nagsisinungaling yung mga resource person, no?
I feel like every
Kasi
questioning is has the
maraming
intent of being more
maraming
entertaining rather than
yeah,
actually
maraming
inquisitive.
inconsistencies ka makukuha, no? Marami kang inconsistencies na makikita doon sa mga testimony ng mga resource person. Ayun, siguro they're only after the pasabog thing, no?
The drama.
Pero wala namang backup, wala namang uh, supporting details. So, nakakalungkot.
Yeah. Now, based from Sir Manny's advice, kids, aspiring journalists, social media journalists, you need to read. And with that note, please read It's Me Book. It's not just this is more a journey if you read this. Like this is the experience of someone that's been through the thick of it, things that you could only imagine right now of going through. So if you want real experience, a guideline on how to handle your journalist career, this is the book for you. So, Sir Manny,
Thank you.
where can people find you? By the way, do you have events upcoming?
I'm in social media, no? Sa Facebook, sa Twitter, sa LinkedIn, sa ba? Sa Instagram, just look for Manny Mugato.
This is a new cover, by the way. I don't have the old one.
Well, the first one was Rust, no? So there are many typographical errors, no?
Mm.
And the fonts are very small. It's hard to read. So the second printing,
So
I
this
saw.
one is the final version of the
Yes.
book.
So the fonts are larger, and it's more readable.
Okay, everyone, go out and buy this. Now, with that being said, Sir Manny, thank you for actually spending a bit more time with us. I feel like it's
Well,
pretty
thank you
late on
also.
your
Thank
end.
you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
and
for having me.
yeah, and to our PSM audience, thank you actually for joining us for more than an hour for this interview. And hopefully we get to see you guys again in the next episode. And with that being said, we'll see you in the next.
Thank you.